Seth Dealer, and you're watching Shotgun Wrestling Radio.
This is the mechanic Big Beasley, and you are listening to Shotgun Wrestling Radio.
This is Rory Fox, your Central Empire Wrestling Champion, and you're watching Shotgun Wrestling Radio.
This is Gavin Parker, and you're listening to Shotgun Wrestling Radio.
What's up, everybody? It's Leon King here, of course, the baddest of the baddest, and you are now listening to Shotgun Wrestling Radio.
I am Eric S. Knight.
And I'm Malik Champion.
And we are the chosen prodigal sons, and this is the Shotgun Wrestling Radio podcast.
This is your Deathmatch Daddy Bo guy, and you're watching Shotgun Wrestling Radio.
Hey everybody, this is Brock Anderson, and you are watching Shotgun Wrestling Radio.
This is Augustus Draven, and you're watching Shotgun Wrestling Radio.
This is the Feline Phenom, JT Energy, and you're experiencing Shotgun Wrestling Radio.
Welcome everybody to another edition of Shotgun Wrestling Radio. I'm your host, Zach Takis, and we continue our busy week here on Shotgun Wrestling Radio. As last night, as you all saw, we had Trent Hammer on the program, as Trent is another one of the other 29 individuals that are going to be in the Battle Royal here for Absolute Pro Wrestling Winter Brawl Classic. And the man I have with me tonight is no stranger to our program. We've had him on countless times. He's a big supporter of us. We're a big supporter of him. A lot of folks have dubbed this man Mr. Waterloo himself. And of course, I can't help but welcome in my good friend, the one and only Mr. James Jeffries. James, what's going on, buddy? How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Zach. I appreciate the introduction. Thank you for all the kind words, and it's always good to talk to you.
Absolutely, my friend, absolutely. And again, I'm really excited for the Winter Brawl Classic coming up this Saturday night in Waterloo, Iowa. It's really becoming one of those kind of must-see events for Absolute Pro Wrestling. Jason Prentice and Brandon the Shank Eubanks have done a really great job building this event up, and it makes you really feel like it's an old school Royal Rumble, because you got the promo videos, you got the great the promo photos that come out with all you guys that are going to be on the card. And I mean, it's just, again, a really stacked lineup, and I went last year and it was a lot of fun, and I know you've been a part of it as well. And again, just very stacked lineup we have coming up Saturday night here in Waterloo.
Yeah, you mentioned that Winter Brawl Classic. I mean, 30 men fighting for an opportunity at the APW World Heavyweight Championship. And man, just thinking of the guys that were in it last year, you just had a who's who of wrestling. And I really thought last year's match, anybody could have won it. There was various wrestlers in there cleaning house. So I'm definitely looking forward to that main event, and just the whole card of the matches. I mean, I think a lot of first time matchups, on Saturday, and man, it'll be great to be back in Waterloo. Got a lot of love for the fans in Waterloo.
Yeah, like you said, it's just going a very stacked night that we have. I'm going to run down some of the lists of competitors we have in the Battle Royal here. We have somebody you're very familiar with your time in professional wrestling. We have AJ Smooth in the house tonight on Saturday night. We have Daniel Mott. Daniel Mott has a huge following up there in the Waterloo area as well. We have CC Baker, Jay Wesley, who I just had on the show here last week. We have Colin Anthony. We have Justin Decent. Justin Decent, I want to talk to you about this, James. I know you've seen the videos he's been putting out lately. He just put out another one today, so I don't know if you've had a chance to see it yet, but kind of feels like Justin's coming in with a little bit more fire than what he's had the last several years.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And, Justin Decent to me is one of the dearest friends that I have on this earth. He was a groomsman in my wedding. He's a absolutely fantastic wrestler, and I feel one that you can't ever count out because he's been around the wrestling world a long time. And, I know he's mentioned some injuries too, in one of those videos, the broken wrist and, the knee surgery. I think a lot of those surgeries took him away from wrestling. So he's like, hey, don't count me out, count me in. And he just by the sound of his voice, it just sounds like he's coming to win that world title against Aaron Von Buren.
And for those who don't remember, you brought up last year's Winter Brawl Classic. Aaron Von Buren probably pulled off one of the biggest swerves that we've seen in a very, very long time on the Iowa independent scene. You know, we all thought Aaron got badly injured early on in the matchup. And then lo and behold, here he comes, one of the final few competitors. We all thought, I believe it was Jay Wesley, we all thought he had won the Battle Royal. So I know just from talking to him last week, he's got that little extra fire because of that. And again, Aaron Von Buren comes out and steals the victory and has just been running roughshod in Absolute Pro Wrestling for the last year.
Absolutely, Zach. And you know something too, like Aaron Von Buren, you know, I know in this match with Justin Decent, he'll use every devious, evil tactic he can think of to get the victory. You know, we saw a couple of shows ago his match with Ugly. Fantastic matchup. And I thought Ugly had a victory and, you know, should have been the new APW world champion. But however, Von Buren with that Ugly stick takes Ugly out. There's just nothing he won't do to get ahead. And, you know, Justin Decent too, I mean, he'll be the first one to tell you he hasn't always been holding the door open for little old ladies, or, you know, like he hasn't always been he's definitely used some tricks of his own in the past. But I mean, it'd be great to see him back in the ring, and I feel from the interviews he's like, hey, I'm just going to get in there and wrestle you. And I'm going to be watching out for every dirty tactic that Von Buren has. That's the match I'm probably most excited to see on Saturday night.
Yeah, there's just a lot going down. I'm really, as we just talked about, I'm probably most interested just to see how our buddy Justin does, because like I said, Justin, I feel like is coming into this thing with a lot of fire, and he just seems very, very ready for this. I don't feel like I've seen this kind of energy from Justin for a very long time. So I'm super interested to see how he's gonna come into this whole thing. And just, yeah, I think he's gonna surprise some people. He might be, you know, he's gonna definitely got a lot more experience than a lot of these other cats. But again, I think feels like he has a lot to prove. Now, James, before we kind of talk more about, you know, Saturday night and Absolute Pro Wrestling in Waterloo, Iowa, if you don't have your tickets, head over to Absolute Pro Wrestling Facebook page, shoot them a message. You can get yourself some advanced tickets. James, I kind of want folks to kind of get to know you, because it's been a while since we've had you on the program before, and you know, I know a lot of, and I know I feel like, I don't want to say your wrestling career is slowing down, but you're definitely not as active as you once were on the independent scene, which is fine, because, you know, we all get older, we have families, and that keeps us busy. So for those who might be a little bit newer to James Jeffries, especially as you're hitting some of these other promotions like Absolute Pro and Madhouse Wrestling, let's kind of talk about, you know, kind of your influences in pro wrestling. For those who I would hope anybody that's a fan of history of pro wrestling can be able to tell like who some of your really early influences are. But just by your look and your persona, I feel like a lot of people should be able to look at you and say, okay, I know who he is influenced by.
Yeah, you know, my favorite wrestler of all time is the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich. And I also am a very big fan of Superstar Billy Graham, Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig, Ravishing Rick Rude, and the Ultimate Warrior. You know, Macho Man would be another one as well. You know, a lot of the guys from the late 80s, early 90s are guys that influence me as far as like what I wear into the ring and just the type of style I want to portray, you know, and I feel like that was a really special time for wrestling. And, I hope that when people see me wrestle, they, think of guys like that, hopefully they think, yeah, maybe this, guy's a throwback a little bit. I don't know, but, like you said, as years go by, 35 years old and been wrestling 17 years, in the Midwest here. And, yeah, like you said, as time goes on, you definitely, I feel like I got more behind me than I have in front of me. But man, I'm still enjoying doing it, and wrestling for, places like Absolute Pro Wrestling, Impact Pro Wrestling, Madhouse Wrestling. I just wrestled up in Chanhassen, Minnesota for MIW Wrestling. I did a couple shows for MAW Wrestling up there. So I still get around here and there, but I spend a lot of time here with my wife Nicole and my son Kerry. So nothing but fun stuff. You know what I mean?
Now getting back to like some of your influences, I know those few guys that you listed there. I asked this about everybody that comes on the show. Would you put those guys on your Mount Rushmore list too? Then, or is that your Mount Rushmore in pro wrestling?
I wouldn't say it's my Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling. I like to say, like Kerry, Mr. Perfect, Rick Rude, Superstar, and Ultimate Warrior are my top 5 that I always kind of, hey, they're always guaranteed my top 5. But man, like my Mount Rushmore would be like Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold, Ric Flair. But this too, Zach, that you could swap out a Flair for a Rock, or you could swap out a Hogan for somebody else. It's so difficult because there's such a cast of characters and good wrestlers that I think you can take a little bit of something from each person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I definitely agree with you on that. And I say it too all the time. It's like you could definitely. I mean, that's what's so great about the question about like, hey, who's your Mount Rushmore? It's so subjective as wrestling is and as wrestling should be that we can swap it out at any time. Like I said, if you ask me today, mine would probably be Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels. I would probably put Stone Cold in there. I mean, God, maybe even Undertaker too. Like I just think you could put so many different. It just really depends on the day. Like it's and then you can have a separate Mount Rushmore for tag team wrestling because I feel like tag teams deserve their own Mount Rushmore too. I don't think should have a Mount Rushmore for both singles and tag. I think tag should be a little bit separate because there's so many great tag teams. You could easily have a Mount Rushmore tag team wrestling too.
Yeah, absolutely. And you think like Road Warriors and Rock and Roll Express. Hey, every time I hear, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, I automatically link them together. I want to see them in tag team wrestling matches. Same with the Road Warriors. Not to say they aren't fantastic single wrestlers, but yeah, I agree. You could put the Hardy Boys on that Mount Rushmore. You could put the New Day. I mean, there's so many good ones that way.
Yeah, there really is, man. And I guess you've been doing this a long time. You've had the honor of being in the ring with a lot of greats. I know you've been in the ring with Brian Blair, the Killer Bees, just some really other great talent that you've been able to be in the ring with. For you, man, as long as you've been doing this, remind me again, what year did you start doing this as far as being a professional wrestler?
I started professional wrestling in August of 2007.
Okay.
And started with Impact Pro Wrestling, and I trained with TS Aggressor and Johnny Fitness.
Can't go wrong with either. And that's the great thing, dude, about like this generation, like that generation of you guys. It's like you can definitely still see a lot of influence from guys like TS and Johnny Fitness in today's talent because a lot of upcoming talent too are guys that you had a hand in training. So you took kind of what you learned from Johnny and TS, and you were able to, pass it off to guys like your Bryce Jordans, your Ricky Bronsons, your Jimmy Wilds of the world. Like you get his influence is really kind of all over the place.
Yeah, I had such a fantastic experience at the vault with TS and Johnny Fitness, and getting to coach aspiring wrestlers, I think helped my longevity, and just to have a very small part in their start or what they learned is pretty cool for me, and a lot of them have done so many great things on their own. I just was really thankful to have got the opportunity to work with the students that I got to work with. It's been great to watch them, their dreams, their wrestling dreams come true. So
now, since you've been doing this, as I mentioned, you do have a lot of experience and some really great memories, especially there at the Hall of Fame show. Do you have one that sticks out to you as just being an absolute favorite moment or something for you that just kind of was like, you look back on it now, you're like, holy shit, I got to be in the ring with so and so. Like, is there a specific moment like that for you?
yeah, I'd say 2016 in the steel cage,
Yep.
myself and JJ Dillon against Justin Decent, who was Impact Pro Wrestling World Heavyweight
Yep.
Champion at the time, and his manager, Jason Prentice. That would be the one that really sticks out as far as like a memory for me. Certainly Brian Blair, I had his retirement match. That's another one. It was officiated by referee James Beard, who I have a ton of respect for both of those guys. And also, too, outside the ring, I was the very first Impact Person of the Year in 2018. So, and I had no idea that I was winning that award. So I was extremely honored to receive that. Gosh, there's so many fun ones. Got to wrestle Austin Aries there in Waterloo.
Yep.
Team with Davey Boy Smith Jr.
Yep.
in a tag against Wes Briscoe and Malice and a couple other teams. Gosh, you could just really think back on a lot of these years. You know how that weekend is, Zach. It's just
yep.
You could pick something from each year that you're like, man, I got to do it. Like one that comes to mind is myself and Ugly teamed with Brian Blair against Matty Starr, Sparrow, and Aaron Von Baron in a 6-person tag. Just a lot of those moments I'm super grateful for. So, and I'm thankful that I got to be a part of it. So.
Now, with everything that's changed in wrestling over the last several years, from the independents to what's mainstream, you and I growing up around the same era and the same time frame, I used to think as a kid out loud, like me and my friends, and I'm sure you were probably the same way. We're like, God, wouldn't it be awesome if wrestling was on every single night of the week? And now we literally have wrestling on every single night of the week. I mean, it's what are your kind of thoughts right now on how the wrestling industry itself has evolved? I mean, now you even got WWE teaming up with like TNA, and you got WWE doing that WWE ID program where they're teaming up with some other independent promotions, like Black and Brave and some of those other ones, kind of helping discover some of the young up and coming independent talents. What's kind of your thought process on how just wrestling has been changing here over the last several years?
I think it's great, man. I think it's an exciting time to be a wrestler, and it's like an exciting time to be a young wrestler in the wrestling business. And another one, like WWE, they're working with TNA Wrestling now. If you look back to 2002, did you ever think that TNA Wrestling and WWE would have this open door wrestling matches?
I made a post the other day that I said, when they announced that news, I said, this is the kind of news that would have made Zach Briggs say hell officially froze over. Because Zach was the biggest TNA fan I ever knew. Even in their darkest days, he always kept me up on the loop on what was going on in TNA.
Absolutely, and he he's such a, Zach Gregg was such a wrestling fan, and it was always cool to hear his stories of just different matches and different promotions he enjoyed. And I think just, yeah, the wrestling business is in such a good place. I think it's changed for the better. I think getting WWE on Netflix reaches more people so that more people can enjoy wrestling like we've enjoyed wrestling. They have everything on the network now, and all the Raws are on Netflix. And, I can remember taping Raw and then not taping over them, but I remember I'd be like, I'm going to keep this one and then tape over this one. So I mean, there's just so much wrestling to watch and so much good wrestling to watch. So I think it's just going to keep growing and growing, and just going to be more opportunity, and that's a win for everybody involved.
When I used to tape Raw, because I would always get like the 8-hour tapes, and I would tape you probably fit like 3 episodes on a tape, because at the time it was only a 2-hour show, so you could fit like three to 4 episodes on a show, just give or take. And I remember after the Raw, depending on what would happen, if something big happened, I would write it on the tape. Like I remember the night that the Hurricane beat Rock, I remember writing on the tape, Hurricane beats Rock. And I kind of did the same thing to you. It's like, I'm gonna save that tape, but yeah, that one I did the same thing you did.
Yeah. I mean, it's really cool, and I remember, was that the one where Hurricane threw Rock over the top rope? Or is that the singles match that they had where he pinned his shoulder?
That was the singles match they had that I was referring to. The singles match they had on Raw. 'Cause me and my friends growing up were big Hurricane fans. So when Hurricane beat The Rock, it was kind of one of those. That was a big moment for us Hurricane fans.
Absolutely. I loved when he also threw him over the top rope too, and he's kind of celebrating up the ramp because he wants to get the heck out of there. And Stone Cold gives him the pat on the back, and he's like, I can't believe I just won, Gosh, good stuff.
Yeah, let's get back to a little bit more for the Winter Brawl Classic. I'm going to run down some more names that we got coming up here this week. And again, Winter Brawl Classic presented by Absolute Pro Wrestling this coming Saturday night. Tickets, I believe, are only about $10 at the door, or you can send Absolute Pro Wrestling a message on their Facebook page, and they can hook you up with some early tickets as well. So we ran down some names earlier. We're going to run down some more names right now. We have the Big Picture, who you're definitely no stranger to. AJ O'Callahan, who we had on the show as well. I mean, Ricky Bronson is going to be in the house. Like, it's just, again, I feel like Brandon the Shank Eubanks and, Jason Prentice really went out of their way here on this card. You got, again, Trey Hammer that we had on, Ethan Everhart, Cole Cannon, the Death Dealer. It's just really a stacked lineup of current independent professional wrestlers that we have. Bryce Jordan, for example. I mean, just really anybody's ball game as to who can win this Battle Royal Saturday night.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just the list of people is there's so many good competitors, Big Picture. I could see him wanting 2 belts, the open weight title, and then, wanting to win that Winter Brawl Classic, and then getting the victory over Von Baron. Like, he just likes to win. AJ O'Callahan, last time I saw him, he hit the guy in the mouth so hard, and then he was checking his pulse. He's like, yep, ref, ring the bell. But, I mean, the dastardly one, Daniel Mott, I mean, he's another, like you said earlier, he's fantastic. I mean, yeah, I just, there's some fantastic wrestlers involved. So it'll be an exciting night. You're definitely you're gonna want to get there early so you don't miss any of the matches, because I think all of them are can't miss matches.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And another thing that we had just announced today, me and our good friends over at the Card Subject Change podcast, go give them a follow. We are going to be doing a live preview podcast from the Cedar Valley Sports Complex as you guys are walking in there at 6:30. So we're gonna have hopefully some of you guys on there to do some more interviews as well. But yeah, me and the Wizard CZ will be doing a live podcast at 6:30 p.m. there in Waterloo that night, which I'm super excited about. The last one we did was a whole lot of fun, and this time I think it'll be a lot of fun with everybody kind of coming in the background. And yeah, it's gonna be a good night. Weather doesn't look like it should be a problem, which is good for January in Iowa. And as we know, because we kind of got a little bit of a snowy day here today, but I'd rather have this today instead of Saturday, so it doesn't affect anybody's travel plans.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be a fun night at the wrestling matches.
I mean, again, and for a lot of us, it's going to be our first match of 2025 because it's January. It'll be January 25th, 2025. So for a lot of us, man, it's our first show of the year. So it's always nice after you kind of get that holiday break to kind of kick off the year and get back out there and get back going to shows again. Because the one thing, and we're talking about wrestling being in a really healthy place. I was really worried when the pandemic happened 4 years ago because even back then, 2019, beginning of 2020, everybody was running shows month to month, week to week, even. I was worried that we weren't going to be able to get back to that. And I'm sure you probably were too, because, nobody knew what it was going to be like. But now you look at it and really you can find a show here in Iowa every damn weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely was worried about it. It kind of put the halt on just so many things, not only in wrestling, but just, hey, hanging out with family and friends. And, it's like, hey, what is going to happen? And then when things start opening up and then you see, hey, they're going back to doing live entertainment, plays and sports and whatever. It's like, got a little excited, like, hey, it's, it definitely, you could tell that there's a difference now, but you could definitely, I think people were ready to get back out there when it was time to go again, so.
Yeah. For sure, my friend, for sure. Now, a couple more questions here for you. It's like I said, I feel like you definitely really pick and choose where your bookings are coming. How do you, as a wrestler, especially now that you have a little boy of your own, how do you try to balance that, family dynamic with your love of just being a pro wrestler? I mean, obviously Nicole knows very well because she is a wrestler herself as well. But how do you kind of try to find that balance? Because I know me, I don't like being on the road all the time. I like being home with my family as well. So how do you try to balance that act?
Yeah, the same. I like being home. And you kind of mention it. Being a little more picky with when you're gone. Trying to still find a good balance of a few shows to still be involved, but yet I always feel like I'm missing something. And it's a lot harder to leave, as Zach. It's harder to leave on Saturdays to go wrestling.
Yeah.
Not that I don't enjoy my time or anything. I always have a blast with the wrestling shows, with the wrestling fans. But I feel like you just both things are important. Your home life and then your wrestling life. So I just try to get to as many as I can without, missing a lot of things, because Carrie just turned 3 in December, and having a kid, it's like you can relive everything again. So there's moments I don't want to miss with him,
Yep.
To where it makes it hard to leave. So I don't know if I answer your question or not, but
yeah. Well, and again too, it's like, as long as you have that support system, I think it does make it a little bit easier, but it's still tough. But as long as you have that support system, I think that's the biggest thing for all of us who enjoy going to wrestling or being part of the wrestling industry as we are.
Yeah, for sure.
So getting back to Saturday, man, we don't got a whole lot of time here left. This is the kind of matchup where, depending on the number that you draw, you could be in this thing anywhere from, say, 3 seconds to an hour long. How do you, especially in this day and age with where you are at in your wrestling life, how do you go about preparing for a match like this where it could be, like I said, anywhere from 3 seconds to 60 minutes?
Well, I mean, for me, really, I got that fatal four-way, Colin Anthony versus Bryce Jordan and AJ Smooth, myself included. Whoever gets pinned first is going in first. Whoever wins is going in number 30. So I want to get through that and be number 30. Who wouldn't want to be? And then for the, Winter Classic Battle Royal, just prepare for it like every match, obviously, it could last a long time or a very short time, but I want to make it to the Winter Brawl Classic, and I want to win to become the APW World Heavyweight title. So as far as like a mindset goes, no matter how long you've been doing it or what part of your wrestling phase that you're in, it's like, hey, I still want to be at the top. You know what I'm saying? I still want to pick up the victory at the end of the night. So I don't want to go anywhere as far as that Winter Brawl Classic goes. I want to make her all the way to the end and challenge Aaron Von Baron, and you just got to be looking around every corner in those matches, those battle royals, because like you said, you can get dumped out by not just one guys, but multiple guys.
Yep.
So you got to be really on your game, real sharp. So, and got a match earlier in the night, which a lot of other people do too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm sure every wrestler's thinking, hey, how am I going to feel after my first match? So there's a lot that goes into it.
So now we have a little bit of time. Like I said, I'm going to give you, let's say, 30 to 60 seconds to cut a promo for Saturday night. You can do one for your Fatal 4-Way if you would like, or you can do one for the Battle Royal, or you can do one for both. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to stop talking, and I'll let you go ahead and do your thing, my friend.
Well, let me tell you something, Shotgun Wrestling Radio fans and APW Wrestling fans. James Jeffries is coming to Waterloo, Iowa. The fans of Waterloo have been absolutely awesome to me. And I got a big match earlier in the night against Colin Anthony, AJ Smooth, and Bryce Jordan, a fatal four-way match. And the winner gets number 30. The loser goes in number 1. But I tell you what, I don't care who I have to pin, but I'm going to walk in to that fatal four-way, and I hope to get the victory because I want to go on to the Winter Brawl Classic Battle Royal and pick up the victory to face whoever the APW World Heavyweight Champion is at the end of the night. I want to win that thing. Waterloo, Iowa. James Jeffries is coming. APW fans, I'm pumped to see you all. It's going to be an exciting night of wrestling action. Yeah. Woo!
Excellent, my friend. Excellent. Now, before I let you go, where can people follow you at on social media if they want to follow you?
You can follow me, James Jeffries on Facebook, James Jeffries on Instagram, and at the Real J Double on X.
And you can see him this Saturday night for Absolute Pro Wrestling. Again, we are going to be doing a live preview podcast with our good friends in Card Subject to Change podcast. Go ahead, give them a like and follow. Just search out Card Subject to Change. They're great dudes over there with Nick and CZ. We're going to be doing a preview show this coming Saturday night, live from the Cedar Valley Sportsplex in Waterloo, Iowa. Great venue for wrestling. Going to be an exciting time. James, I look forward to seeing you Saturday night. And for everybody, if I don't see you at the show Saturday, we're to see you next time right here on the World Wide Web.
Look forward to seeing you too, Zach. I appreciate everything and just wanted to give just a quick sign of respect and memory to the Zig Man, Zach Gregg. So looking forward to seeing you, brother.
Absolutely, guys. And again, as James just said, we'll hopefully see everybody at the show here this coming Saturday night.